Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hola, hola, hey.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yes. We're so excited today. This is our first show.
Yes.
Before we do anything, let's toast to Mother's Day and our first show.
Yes.
We're toasting. It's Mother's Day and it's our first show.
What do you have?
We got our first sexy guest. You got some wine? What you got, Marlon? What you got, Marlon?
I got a little gin here.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Well, cheers.
Happy
Cheers,
Mother's Day.
lady.
And happy
There
Mother's
you go.
Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
So anyway, welcome to Sunday Bites and Tidbits. And our first guest is the beautiful, handsome, sexy, tall,
Vegan,
muscular. He's got muscular.
Muscular.
All of the above, intelligent, college grad, everything that goes along with,
sisters, y'all, ladies, you hear all this? All wrapped up in one brother?
Wrapped up in one brother. He goes by the name what?
Woo! Plant-based G.
And the G is
There
because
you go.
he's a G.
G is because I'm a G, you know?
Yeah, so we're gonna but his name is Marlon Rising. Marlon, tell us a little bit about the name Plant-Based G.
Actually, it's funny. Whenever I was first just kind of fooling around with social media and whatnot, I was just coming up with some different names. And actually, a close friend of mine, I couldn't come up with anything. And she said, you always think you a G, right? I was like, of course. She was like, and you doing the plant-based thing now, right? I said, yeah. She said, plant-based G, that's what it is. I said, come on. Plant-based G. So here you go. Plant-based G.
And I like it because it kind of fits you because you still got your swag. You know what I mean? You got
the swag.
He's got swag, and he's got the best smile on the planet.
He does.
All that goes along with that.
Thank you.
People are texting me going, where can I tune in? So talk to him.
All right. So Marlon, the first question that I have to ask my guest is,
well, let's talk about the book first.
Do we have to talk about the book first?
Well, yeah, we want so people can go online and start looking at it while we're chit-chatting. Just tell them,
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the order.
All right. So before I get to this one question that I have to ask you, please tell us what inspired the book. Now, I know that you're this, you came from old school, ate like everybody else ate, and
absolutely.
And enjoyed your food.
Yes,
right?
heavily.
Okay, so what inspired the book? Well,
it was a couple of things that inspired the book. First off, I think just kind of the topsy-turvy, nature that we were all going through whenever everyone kind of got the stay-at-home order and, the quarantine. So, one thing that I had thought about was I wanted to make sure that some of the extra time that I spent at home, I was productive with it. So obviously that kind of transitioned into, I'd already been kind of writing some recipes and whatnot, but I figured this was as good a time as ever to put all that down on paper and give people some options as far as how to eat good as vegan. So I wanted to make sure that first off, I let people know that there's incredible food if you live this vegan lifestyle. But then also I wanted to make sure that the fellas knew. So any of the fellas that are checking this out right now, I wanted to make sure that the fellas knew that I'm a regular cat. All I did was get in the kitchen, wanted to make sure I was eating good, eating healthy, whip some stuff up, and the next thing you know, it's magic. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that we've got a lot of incredible options as far as what we can eat during this vegan lifestyle.
Excellent.
Cool. And how long so tell a little, you want to go into how you became
No. Go ahead and give us the name of the book and where they can find it.
Yeah, no doubt. So the name of the book is Quarantine 15. So obviously you get the whole understanding of, thank you very much. You get the whole understanding of the title, but the reason why it's 15 is I got 15 recipes off in it plus one. And the plus one is actually a blueberry cobbler that my mom gave me a great deal of advice with. So just to let you know, it's crazy. So anyways, Quarantine 15, got 15 incredible recipes. You can find it at quarantine15.life, or you can go to my Instagram page, which is plantbasedg.life. Got the link on there too, but it's got some incredible food from jalapeno cornbread to, there you go. You see, you got a mushroom situation right there. on the table, an incredible mushroom situation.
Looking like fried,
or some fried fish bits, you know?
Yeah, you know,
Exactly.
we have to kind of tell people, Marlon, this ain't chicken, y'all. This is one of Marlon's recipes.
Yo.
Go ahead, Marlon.
No, I was gonna say, when I tell you, the one thing I wanted to make sure people understood was you can eat just as good, if not better, as long as you understand the way to go about cooking. And a lot of that has to do with seasoning. And Babette, you know, I mean, being the expert chef that you are, if you can season, you can go hard with anything. So my mom actually was the one that told me, she said, look, you know how to season. You spend time with me in the kitchen. So all you got to do is apply that to what you're doing now. And like I said, I eat good. I eat better now than I did before.
And tell them a little bit about your journey. You know, the fact that the way how you transformed your body, all of that stuff. Because people really think that when you eat healthy, first of all, there's a myth that if you go vegan, you're going to be really skinny.
Right.
You know, people say, oh, well, I cut everything out. I'm going to be very skinny. Or I'm not going to be able to bulk up. And you got muscles.
Couple.
Yeah, come on, show muscles.
Couple, little bit. My bad. And I'm close to 50. So I'm 47 years old too. So I'm trying to hold my own a little bit. But as far as the journey goes, it'll actually be 3 years in July that I actually transitioned into the vegan lifestyle. And so just a little bit of background, because what's funny is a lot of people, they'll see me now and they'll think that this was something that I always wanted to do. They'll think that, you know, oh yeah, you probably, you know, wanted to do this a long time ago, or you always wanted to make that change and be vegan. And I'm like, absolutely not. You know, in my past life, I used to work in the sports supplement industry. I used to sell tons of whey protein. I used to eat steaks, chicken, fish, everything. I was a power lifter. You know, I was doing everything opposite of what I do now. So, you know, I had gotten up to around 370, 380 pounds.
No.
It was huge. I was huge. And it's hard for most people to believe that, you know, I was as big as I was. You know what I mean? And granted, you know, I wasn't big and sloppy with it necessarily, because I was active. I was a power lifter. I was moving around, but it was just too much weight for my body to handle. And especially when you think about, you know, your organs, your heart, everything that's having to go through all that stress, it got to a point to where, you know, I started to consciously think about something that I probably needed to do as far as just changing my lifestyle. So anyways, fast forward, one afternoon, I was, you know, hanging out. A friend of mine was sitting back watching TV one afternoon. All of a sudden, you know, like, hey, let's watch something on Netflix. What the Hell pops up. And so for anyone who's seen What the Hell, yeah, you know,
it changed your life.
Yeah, you know how impactful it is. So literally, I'd say probably halfway through it, I stopped and I said, my life just changed. You know what I mean? I was like, my life just changed. And there were a couple of things in there specifically, you know, that really spoke to me. One was, and I forgot the name of the brother, one of the doctors that was in there, but I think it's Milton something. Yeah. So anyway, so he had mentioned, he was talking about lactose intolerance. He was talking about how it affected African Americans and how it affected, you know, Asian Americans, people of color overall. And so I always grew up with these issues as far as lactose intolerance, but we can never figure out why. So then finally, it dawned on me when he dropped that information and said, hey, look, you're not a baby cow. There's a legitimate reason why your body can't handle this. And so that was one of the things that really spoke to me. But I think even bigger than that was when the portion of the show where they were showing the pig farms in North Carolina. And so when I watched how, you know, there were so many people of color and just ordinary individuals who were having to deal with all of the waste, all of the negative effects that this was having on the environment, and how that adversely affect them as far as cancer went, as far as upper respiratory issues went. And so when I watched that, it made me think to myself, if I consume any of those items that potentially go to support one of those farms, I'm hurting the very individuals that I claim to care so much about. And so for me, as far as just looking in the mirror and keeping it real, I said, if I care about people as much as I say I do, if I truly am about, you know, the upliftment of all individuals, then I can't contribute to an industry that hurts these very people. So for me, that was enough to slap me in the face and say, regardless of the health side, just as far as being a good individual, I can't contribute to this anymore. So that's why when I say it stopped immediately, I said, I will never consume another animal related product again. So ever since then, I decided to make that decision to, like I said, initially, and Babette and I have talked about this too, it was strictly along the lines of me being healthy, living a plant-based lifestyle. And it wasn't really much about veganism as much as it was about just leaving the animal-based products alone. So as time went, and really what's funny is, as I started making more trips out to California and meeting some of my California vegan family like Babette and Terrah and all my people at Vegan Street, for everyone out there, Compton Vegan. I mean, once I got around those people, Paige, she actually took me to my first visit. Yeah, and I went to a slaughterhouse. I went to Farmer John's, and so it was funny because my son and I, Colin, went. And I'll give you a quick funny story. Paige asked if we wanted to go. And I was like, yeah, I've never done that before. So this will be interesting. So then my son and I look at each other and we're both like, yo, this is going to be different, man. We're going to a slaughterhouse. I don't really know what's going to be.
You're the G.
I was like, this is going to be different. So, we pull up at the slaughterhouse, and immediately as we pull up, I'm looking at the paintings on the side of all of these happy pigs roaming, the prairie land and whatnot. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm adding him in.
Hey, we good. Okay, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, so you were
you're a little out of sync. Hold on.
Okay.
Did you do something different with your sound? No,
I'm saying.
Okay, because you're out of sync this time. But just let me see if you're coming up. But just keep talking. Go ahead. So you.
Okay. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
Good.
Okay, perfect. But anyways, like I said, we pull up to Farmer John's, and just the energy that I got from that, and just the depth, the anxiety. There was just a lot happening there that without words even having to be spoken, and just watching the animals enter the facility, that impacted me greatly. And so, as I thought about that, as we made our way back to Texas, it made me kind of open up the way that I thought about not only the plant-based lifestyle, but just veganism as a whole. And so for me, it became bigger than just the way that I was eating. It also became about respecting all life, looking at the bigger picture, the way that, not only the way that I treat myself, but the way that I treat, other living beings, the way that I treat, other earthlings, the way that I treat any life overall. So for me, it kind of expanded who I am as an individual. So in addition to being healthy and losing the weight and all that, I'm definitely a much more compassionate individual, definitely a much more loving individual. So for me, those are the things that I'm more proud of, even than the weight loss. I mean, the weight loss, the cooking, all that is cool. But for me, knowing that I'm a better individual at the core, and knowing even more so as a male too, and showing other men that, you can be cool, you can be G, you can be all of that stuff that you've always claimed to be, but at the same time, be a compassionate individual that respects all life. So for me, that's probably the biggest thing that I've accomplished during this journey.
Let me ask you this, Marlon. Do you think that because, sometimes people, when they transform from one whatever to another, they treat that other very. I remember we were at an event, Babette and I was talking to a mother who had her son there, and he was all about veganism and treating the animals and saving the animals. And then I asked his mom, I said, well, how's he in respect to you? She goes, oh, he's giving me a hard time. So I looked at him, I said, so you don't care enough about her. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're the person who's taking care of you, you don't care to go the extra mile for that particular person. So a lot of times you find that people will go, oh yeah, I'm in for this cause, but they treat other human beings as if they're, as if it doesn't matter.
You're there, and that's
how did that shift for you?
Yeah, for me, fortunately, and I think because it happened at an older age, the alignment was perfect. You know, it happened to me at a point where, you know, obviously I'm still at an age where I'm gaining wisdom and I'm learning and I'm willing to learn. So for me, everything happened the way that it was supposed to. So as I get older, as I get more conscious of what type of individual I am and you know, any, you know, insecurities that, you know, I may have had when I was younger, all of those things have kind of subsided. You know, I welcomed, you know, that opportunity to be a different individual, not only as far as how things are handled, as far as what I eat with animals, et cetera, but even as far as how I handle people. Because I can tell you, I mean, and it's funny because there are people who've known me for a long time who would say, is this the same Marlon? I mean, because, you know, just being straight up, I mean, I was meat eating, you know, wild, you know, weightlifting, alpha male who was like, I mean, I wasn't scared of nothing. I was like, yo, you know, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I mean, it was just, I was a completely, you know, different individual. So there were people who knew me, you know, in my past life who would say, man, you really made a transition both inside and out. And again, you know, those are the things that I'm most proud of because, you know, there's a lot that we can do physically and there are different things that we can do to make ourselves healthy. But for me, the bigger impact is who I am internally and how that can impact others, you know? And so, you know, I think it's opened up, you know, I know some of my friends, just their perspective on life has changed just from, you know, things that I know I've done. So with that, you know, that's what I really enjoy about this journey is being able to, like I said, not only affect myself, but other people internally and externally.
Well, that's great.
Well, I have to say this. You answered the question I was dying to ask you. And that was, you started for a specific reason, because I did the same thing.
Right.
I started, it was just because I wanted to feel better.
Right.
And as time went on and I learned, it became about the whole and not just about me personally. So I love that. I love to hear that.
And that happens for a lot of people. That didn't necessarily happen for me. You know, I had a cute boyfriend at the time who was vegetarian.
He said, you going vegan.
Well, no. He was vegetarian. This was back in 79. And we were young and, you know, who knew about
so he was early with it.
He was just cute. It was very early. But, you know, so that was my reason. And I kind of just like the health benefits more for me. And I found that digesting certain things, I just couldn't digest anyway. So it worked for me. And I'm able to maintain my body better, you know, for me. So it's different for a lot of people. You got something to say? Go ahead. You look like
no. I was agreeing with what you were saying. Yeah, I was agreeing with what you were saying.
So George Riddick, if you're out there. Anyway, I'm just you were
she did not do that.
Use your platform. Use your platform.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that because he introduced me to the lifestyle. He
put you on that game. Yeah.
On the game, and I'm still on the game years later. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other question we wanted to ask you: reasons behind the cookbook besides good food. You kind of answered it, but maybe you can go and
I was going to say also too, and I kind of briefly mentioned this before, but I wanted to make sure that one, men knew that you can get off in the kitchen and you can go crazy. You know what I mean? I wanted to make sure that the fellas knew just the same way, you know, your young lady can get in there and go and get busy. We can do the exact same thing. So I wanted to make sure I put something out there, and if someone gets a cookbook, you can look at it. You know, the pictures, the whole vibe is the same thing. A lot of, you know, fellas like me like to do. So I wanted to show the fellas you can get in there and get crazy with it just the same way that I did. But more importantly, I wanted to make sure that the average individual knew. And I don't care if you're vegan. I don't care if you're not vegan. All of the joints that are in there, every single one of them you'll enjoy. So I wanted to make sure that the average individual knew too. If you like good food and you want an option that's healthier than maybe what you would get.
Honey.
Right. I can't wait to just wait a minute. We got a couple of questions. Shelly Robinson's got a question too.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
But this is mushrooms, and I mean it tastes like you're eating fried chicken. Look at it. And the truth is, it's the textures sometimes that we really want. You know what I mean? Pick for something familiar. Shelley asks, what were the challenges with transforming your diet? How did you handle the temptations and distractions along the journey? What helped you succeed?
As far as the most difficult thing was probably early on, and granted, I know we've got more options now than back when I know Babette and you guys started, but early on was just finding different options. It was just kind of determining what were going to be the different options. I knew some of the basics as far as, you know, Beyond Meat and some of those other things were starting to come out around then. So I knew I had some of those options, but trying to figure out, you know, how am I going to eat spaghetti? How am I going to eat lasagna? How am I going to eat tacos? And some of those things, I was like, those are my favorites. And, you know, I was born and raised in South Texas, so Mexican food was what I grew up on. And so when I say grew up on, I'm talking about enchiladas. I'm talking about, I'm not even, hold up, man. I'm not talking about restaurant food. I'm talking about going to my homeboy's house and his grandmother is throwing down in the kitchen for me. I'm talking about eating good like that. So I was like, how am I going to mimic that? So that was probably one of the bigger adjustments for me, was learning, you know, how to go about doing that. But over time, I slowly did my research. As I mentioned earlier, I learned how to season well. And so that was, you know, helpful in terms of being able to kind of teach me how to go about not only making things just as good as before, but even better. You know what I mean? So that was easy. But also, you know, as far as, you know, challenges go, you know, I'd say one of the things for me was learning that the body that I always thought, go ahead and eat, Babette. I know it's good. Go ahead and eat.
I'm trying not to eat because James was like, you know, this doesn't look great when you're eating on. And I'm like, I know, but hey, James, this is so hard.
Yeah, I know Jane has said that before as far as eating on the camera. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, you can take a bite, but see me, I'd be like this. So I'm trying to do good, but go ahead, keep going.
I get it. But as far as challenges go, I grew up as always being a big guy. I was a big kid. In my family, everyone is big. You know, I've got uncles who are, you know, 6'6", 6'7", real big people. So I was always told when I was young, you know, everyone in your family is big, so you're just a big dude. So mentally, I grew up with that mentality, and also growing up in Texas, like, I'm a big dude. That's just what it is. So whenever I started dropping weight, and again, it wasn't an intentional thing. It was just a byproduct of me eating healthier and still exercising with frequency. So when I started dropping weight, I got scared, actually. For me, I got scared initially because I was like, okay, you know, I dropped, you know, 5 pounds here, 3 pounds there, 5 pounds here, 2 pounds there. Then all of a sudden, I've gone through one wardrobe and I'm like, okay, I kind of expected that. Keep doing it. I go through another wardrobe. Then I'm like, okay, this is cool, but what's the deal? Then I go through another one. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, you know, I like being, you know, in fact, cats will call me Big Mar. Now I'm like, yo, they can't call me Big Mar no more. You know what I mean? Now they got to call me, you know, by my name. You know what I'm saying? So mentally, you know, I went through a transition as far as not being the biggest dude in the room. I mean, you know, and it's a small thing, but it's a real thing. You know what I mean? I had to go through
the identity,
yeah, you know, so I kind of went through that, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was just one of those things that you kind of have to address and say, okay, I'm a different dude now. Even, you know, I was used to shopping in the big and tall section. I'll never forget the first time I went into a regular department store and I'm looking for the bigger clothes, but I'm like, yo, that's not what you wear anymore. I mean, I'll give you an example of how big I was. My waist size got to the point to where I had a 48 size waist. Now I have a 36 size waist.
What?
I mean,
well, you know what? This is our first. We're going to have you back, Marlon, obviously, and thank you so much. We're not done yet, but thank you for being our first. What we'd like to be able to incorporate is some pictures, you know, so when we're talking, we can show it. We got to figure all that out, y'all.
Yeah.
But Babette is technically challenged. She's technically challenged.
I am so
technically challenged. So we're just thankful that we could actually see you.
Yes.
Hear you.
Yes, we made this happen.
Yeah, we made it happen, but we're going to have Marlon back, obviously. We're going to do another recipe, but go ahead. So one of the other things is favorite easy meals to eat that vegans or non-vegans can enjoy.
But before you answer that, can we get rid of these? Because I don't want to upset nobody else. I'm going to keep eating these.
No, because they're pretty. It's table setting. We can't just have control.
I have no control over these.
Well, take a bite. Go take a bite and stick your head under the table.
Okay, so you say.
Hold on, but really quickly. But that just goes to show you, it's like you don't, once you have the texture and the feel of something that's familiar, you don't, like beyond the meat burgers, when I make my burgers, like I put my mushrooms and onions, and it's a burger. You don't even think that, okay, I got to go back to eating it the way I used to. No, it's the same thing. This is some fried.
See, she want to, you can't help it. Look, we ain't supposed to be eating on the show.
We're not eating.
Eat away. Eat away.
A bite. That's different. Okay, so go ahead. Answer the question. What are my favorite easy meals to eat that vegans or non-vegans can enjoy?
There's a couple, 2 or 3 that there you go. There's 2 or 3 that I'll mention. First, I think most people like spaghetti. And I'm going to give, one that's the easiest. What I would suggest for the person who may not be as comfortable in the kitchen, but they're trying to do, more vegan or plant-based type of meals, spaghetti is one of the easiest ones you can do, where the pasta in most cases is going to be vegan. It's not going to have any animal products in it. Also, you've got options too. You've got black bean pasta. You've got lentil pasta now. You've got a variety of pastas that you can use. Then the tomato sauce. Most tomato sauces in most instances are going to be vegan too, where you're going to have tomatoes and some other vegetables and whatnot. And then as far as the meat replacement goes, the simplest thing you can do if you don't feel comfortable in the kitchen, you've got the Beyond Meat. You've got all types of other options now that you can get at the store. Yeah, you've got all types of those things. But the one thing that I like to do, because I like to use vegetables primarily for my replacement, is I love using mushrooms. So what I'll do is I'll actually get mushrooms, throw them in the food processor, dice those up, and then I'll actually prepare those just the same way you would meat. It's got the same type of texture. It's also got the same type of flavoring that you can adjust based upon what your preference is. So spaghetti for me is probably one of the easier ones. But in terms of something that I typically cook, more of a kind of a vegan type of meal, and I've actually got this in the cookbook too, it's my pizza quesadilla. And so what I did was I actually combined exactly, Babette, that face exactly. What I did was I combined the concept of having your pizza, but then also I wanted to have something on the top of it, kind of a sandwich type of situation, but with the pizza crust. So that's where I got the quesadilla from. So essentially what I did was I've got half of a pizza. And so I basically kind of decorate that half side with your tomato sauce. I've got my mushrooms, my olives. I'll put bell peppers, onions, and then anything else that you want to load on there. Sometimes I'll even throw some vegan pepperoni. Throw your cheese on there. Then what you do is put your other half of the pizza crust on top. Throw that in the oven for about 12 minutes on 400. Pull that back out. Magic. Easy. Extremely easy. Yes.
That thing looks amazing.
Pizza quesadilla is one of my favorites. It's and like I said, it's easy. Literally anyone can make a pizza quesadilla. So for me, I'd say probably my favorite go-to is going to definitely be the pizza quesadilla. That's for certain.
Okay. Well, I what I like is that you've made food that people are familiar with, and it's easier for a person to transition if that's what they desire to do, because it's just so hard sometimes changing your palate. But when you come up with something like a pizza quesadilla, who would not like that,
Absolutely. There you go. And you're right. As far as, tapping off into people's palates, you want to be able to create things that are similar to kind of what you're used to.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tried to provide in the cookbook. But one thing that I would tell people too, especially anyone who's on the fence as far as eating vegan food or even going vegan, is don't think so much about what you're missing as much as the opportunity to eat other good food.
Yes.
That's what you have to keep in mind, because you're not missing anything. And I'm not even talking about being healthier. I'm just talking about you've got an opportunity to branch out and eat other good food. Once you make your mind up that you can actually enhance your life by branching out and eating other good food, it's a no-brainer. And then the fact that you know you're eating good food that's primarily made of vegetables. I mean, and as far as the benefits go, and you know, Babette, Terrah, you all are both prime examples. Everything from the way your skin looks, the way that your body operates, the way that you feel, the way that you rest, the way that your mind takes in information, the way that you see things. You know, not to mention, and you know, I laugh because I've sent one of Babette's videos to tons of friends of mine as far as, you know, the way that your blood flow is, as far as being vegan versus not being vegan, as far as men go, you know, versus looking at, you know, a blue pill as far as a solution goes instead of, you know, vegetables. It's a much easier way to address not just a couple of our issues, but a majority of our issues. And it's done by something that we're doing day in, day out anyways.
Yeah,
we're going to eat day in, day out anyways.
So as you met age, especially, and things don't work anymore.
It's an unnecessary issue. Yeah, it's an unnecessary issue to have. That's the way that I look at it.
So, there's a question here. Stephanie Howard asks, what meat substitutes would you suggest that doesn't have a lot of sodium and things you can't pronounce?
Thank you.
Yeah,
That scares me with some of, you know.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a great question. And first and foremost, I would say the best thing to do is, as far as meat substitutes go, use vegetables. Most vegetables, you can actually manipulate the taste, the flavor, even the way that it feels texture-wise. You can manipulate that to get exactly what you're looking for. So for instance, I use mushrooms for lots of things where I would use some type of meat-based product. So I'll use mushrooms. I'll use that for everything from hamburgers to spaghetti to tacos to, you know, you name it, to pizzas. So I would suggest using some type of vegetable first and foremost. Now, if there isn't a vegetable, especially early on, and you're making that initial transition and you're trying to get comfortable, one of my favorites is Plant Farm. They're actually one of my favorite particular brands that I use as far as meat substitutes go. You've got the Beyond Meat products too. I don't use those as much, but what I would say ultimately is, at this point, there are probably 9 or 10 different, you know, meat substitutes that I've seen in the grocery store, and I've tried a few of them. But just like anything else, I think you should try something that you think might work for you. Definitely, like I said, Plant Farm is my favorite, but don't be scared to try different things. And again, if you know how to season, I give you my word, most things you'll be able to not only mimic, but you'll actually enhance it because you'll be enjoying a vegetable, non-animal product.
Right, and for some of you, salt and pepper, yes, there's seasonings, but I don't think that's all you're referring to. Okay, so we had a couple of questions. Someone said, so Dave asked, is this vegan wine? Actually, it is vegan wine. It actually is vegan wine. But someone asked, what's the difference between plant-based and vegan?
Plant-based, you're looking at primarily products that are going to be plant-based essentially. So you're talking about vegetables, fruits, nuts, things of that nature. You're talking about nothing that's going to be processed. You're talking about things that are going to be in the produce section primarily. So that's what they're speaking of when they say plant-based. Now, when you start talking about vegan or veganism, you're not only talking about not consuming animal products, you're also talking about the lifestyle in terms of trying to eliminate the use or consumption of anything that's animal related. So that could be shoes, that could be clothing, that could be a variety of cosmetic products, et cetera. So when you start to talk about veganism, it's a little bit of an enhanced lifestyle as far as the different things that you'll use to, activism is usually a part of the vegan lifestyle also. So that's kind of the difference between a plant-based lifestyle and a vegan lifestyle.
Okay, and a couple of more questions. Brenda Sullivan's asking, what about meat texturizer?
TBP. Is that what? TBP?
I don't know meat texturizer because I don't use it.
No. I think that's what she's talking about, the TBP.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the TBP. Yeah. I'm not too familiar with the. Are you familiar with the Babette, the TBP?
Yeah, from years ago, we decided not to use it.
I don't really,
Sometimes you have to be careful when you're using some of the meat substitutes, especially because you wind up eating food-like substances, and they have so much, and the body doesn't really recognize it as food.
Yeah, she's saying that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, TBP. So I'd be careful with the TBP. I'm not a big advocate of it. Sorry, we used it years ago in our chili, and then after we, just do some research on TBP, and we just decided not to use it. Now we still use tofu in the restaurant to crumble in the chili. And that seems to work out okay. People have a problem. A lot of people have a problem with tofu, especially brothers don't want to get male big breasts, but they come into the restaurant with breasts already, and then
they talking about they can't eat tofu.
They already want to change their bra size, and I ain't got no new bras.
And look, they already got breasts. They're worried about some tofu.
But the coolest thing about mushrooms is like these are, which one are these? These are
the oyster.
So oyster,
yes.
All the different mushrooms have so many different textures that you can change up what you're eating just by, this gives you a meat flavor, a meat texture, where the other ones might give you more of a heavier, heartier texture. So just taking something like this and turning it into a bunch of different things, like when you have it in your ramen. I love ramen broth with vegetables, and, throw some mushrooms in there. And then, because a lot of times you just want to chew. You just want to chew something. You want that sensation. You want the texture. And what you get used to, because at one point, I used to love sushi. And I was like, dang, I can't eat no sushi. But I realized, no, get an avocado. It's
California rolls.
Right? I don't know. I don't even like California rolls. It's the combination. It's the experience. It's the avocado with the seaweed, with the, dipping it in. That's all it is. And it took care of everything that I needed it to take care of. So
yes, absolutely.
So we're trying to keep it down. And let's see if we have any more questions. Someone's saying hello from Vegas. Wow, a lot of you have tuned in. I do like some vegan meats, like the Impossible Burger and Beyond. Yeah, I think that.
It's great for the transition too.
There you go. Thank you. We're trying.
And so absolutely, because Babette, and I know you're the same way as far as anything that can get you to consider something out of the norm. I'm all for that. So I'm not one of those types to say, nah, don't do it. You can't do it. Nah. If that's going to be the first step for you, absolutely do it. Anything that will get you to consider, what can I put in my body that'll be healthier than I was doing before? If that's what it takes, do it.
Because my restaurant is not a cure-all. We serve transitional food. When we serve raw, then I feel like we are seriously on point with the live food. But when it's cooked, it's transitional as far as I'm concerned. I believe in consuming life to be at optimum health. But as we're transitioning, we all come from this place, SAD, Sad American Diet.
There you go.
That's what we're doing. We're transitioning and changing.
And you don't want to transition. You don't want to begin that transition when it's on because you have to. Right. Because now something's going wrong, and now you're trying to figure out what can I do for my life? Because you want to. You already, if you can, already be there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you can't already be there, and you know what a lot of people say, and I didn't know this until I'm in school right now, getting my license in personal training, nutrition, whatever. So it's always interesting when they come up with vegans, non-vegans, and I just sit there and I go, okay, whatever, y'all decide. But one of the things that we talk about a lot is when people say, my blood type has to have meat, and my teacher was saying there's a myth to that. That's not true. There's no particular blood type that needs meat. We think that, and that's he said, but that's not even the case. That perhaps there's something else in your diet that's missing that needs. Maybe you can get from some other type of fruit or vegetable, but it's not necessarily because you got to have meat. This guy's a economist. He eats meat. He says that's what I do. I'm not saying, anything's wrong with veganism. I think there's something great and everything is not for him. But he said that's not the case with.
But I think if that were the case, then humans would see a chicken and salivate.
Yes.
You wouldn't have to have somebody murder the chicken for you, pluck the feathers out for you, plump it up with some water, some dye, whatever they do, stick it in a package, and then say, here, come get it. You would already be salivating and you would tear through that chicken yourself if your body required you to have some dead animal flesh. Sorry.
Absolutely. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
No. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Marsha Ann, she's asking about some workout routines, and we're gonna have Marlon back because Marlon's also a personal trainer.
Yes.
And we're gonna ask him to come back. We're still pulling the show together, but one of the things we want to do at the end of the show, because Babette and I work out together a lot, we're going to do workout tips at the end, something that goes with each meal. We'll give you a workout that you can do for the week. So you got to check back again because like I said, we just got the computers working right today. So next week, maybe we'll be able to add a video and a picture. So,
next week we will add a video and a picture.
And maybe we'll have Marlon come back next week and just do a workout with a little tidbit that he can show you and you guys. So we are thank you for having this brother on. I'm in the very beginning and I have children, and at times I worry about them and am transitioning. This is Kendra Williams. Are the recipes in the book also kid friendly?
Yes, very much so.
They may love the pizza quesadilla.
And they're going to love these chicken mushrooms.
That ain't chicken.
That ain't chicken.
And if you don't tell them, they won't know.
I was about to say, there's no reason to tell them. There's no reason to tell them kids. And in fact, there's some cookies in there too that are all vegan. So they can have the sweets, they can have your typical stuff. I've got zucchini lasagna in there. I mean, there's, fried, cauliflower. I mean, you got a variety of options that are absolutely kid friendly too.
Okay, so Kelly Jackson, this is for you, G, says, this AM, my husband and I were having a conversation about G standing for gangster. And our daughter chimed in and said, G is for goat. G, greatest of all time, laugh out loud. The gangster was a goat.
I can't say, I'm not going to say goat. I'm not going to say goat. I mean, G is just kind of G, you know what I mean? G is just kind of G.
But even if you use in our culture, so to speak, when we say gangster,
you say original.
That's like, whoa, yeah. It's not like shoot 'em up gangster.
Right. It's that energy. It's like, it's just like, I call Babette, one of my OGs, one of the original gangsters.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? From back in the day, she was doing this way back before I was even thinking about this. So that's why I'm like, that's one of my OGs right there. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what else is really cool? And then we're going to because we were supposed to keep it down, but I knew this was going to happen because people are right now trying to get some of the questions. But what is so cool is that you are a Black man.
Yes.
You are a Black man who's 40-something years old.
And you're still alive.
And you're alive. You're looking good.
Thank you very much.
You've changed your way. And so many people they just get stuck. Yes. Not just Black men, people in general. We get stuck in a mindset, in a philosophy, in a way of life that we see it every day. But to be at your age and make a change that's so drastic and following it through, and then showing it with your G style and your flavor. That you don't have to all of a sudden become corny. You don't have to be one of those. Yeah. You're still you G.
What you call that? Y'all need to go to his page. Make sure you follow him. Tell him where they can follow you. Right.
Yeah, it's at plantbasedg.life on Instagram, plantbasedg on Facebook, Twitter. But people, my Instagram, I got crazy food.
Slow it down. You're saying that like people may be a little slow.
Okay, let me slow it down a little bit.
Thanks, baby.
Here we go. On Instagram, make sure you check me out. It's plantbasedg.life. That's plantbasedg.life. Make sure you check me out. I have incredible food pics, some inspirational joints for your mental too. So make sure you check that out. And then I'm also on Facebook at plantbasedg.life. Then also on Twitter at plantbasedg. So make sure.
I want to make sure that you go to the Instagram page and you go through the feed and you watch him because he's an influencer. And when he let me just show you. Let's mimic what he does.
We gotta do
come on.
Let me do the voice. Yeah. Yo. What's it? Yo,
check out this joint.
Let me just get in here like this, and then you go. And then he does a slow motion like this.
Y'all.
Tell us we wrong. Tell us we wrong. Tell us we wrong.
Ladies, he be looking sexy, y'all. I swear to God. I be standing there looking at them going, what are you eating?
Not only that, some of the work, then he does his workouts. He just be the muscles popping out in slow motion there. But
And it is the slow motion
he
thing.
sets you up. He sets you up for a
I'm
night.
enjoying myself. It's a beautiful life.
He sets you up for just buying a plant-based G. I say, oh, I got my food. Got my food, got my wine. You don't even turn on the TV. You like video, phone.
Before we go, baby, what's next for you? I know you're an influencer. I know you're all on Instagram showing people what to do, how to be healthy. So what's that?
Well, actually, I've got a couple other ideas that I'm doing as far as cookbooks go too. So I've got some other stuff that I'm going to be coming out with as far as cookbooks go. But one thing that I really want to get out that's big for me is kind of telling my entire story from start to finish as far as kind of how I grew up in terms of my eating habits and a lot of the things that I went through. I want to make sure that I show as many people as possible that every obstacle that you encountered, every issue, every medical thing that you dealt with, I did too. And most of those things went away once I transitioned to this lifestyle. So what I want to do is I want to show people, from start to finish, where I started at, where I'm at today. So my big project is working on or actually finishing up that book and then, taking as many opportunities as possible like this and, speak to people and let, anyone from the fellas to the average individual know you can do this exact same thing. So again, I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to let people know.
The planet home, all of our sentient brothers and sisters are grateful to you right now, and the whole vegan world is grateful to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. And next week, guys, we're gonna have Tabitha Brown.
Whoa, Tabitha!
That's gonna be another fun one. 3 crazy ladies having. So we don't know what we're gonna eat yet, and we may have plant-based G back giving us a little workout tip at the end. So check us out every Sunday. Woo-hoo! Every Sunday at 6 on whatever channel that's on that flyer.
But y'all know the name of the show? Sunday Bites and Tidbits with Terrah and Babette.
Well, it actually goes Chef Babette and Terrah.
No, it's actually Terrah and Chef
Babette.
It's
the other way around.
Well, it could be whatever.
Yeah, it could be. We love you. We love your food. Thank you. We're going to eat the rest of it.
Thank you so much. Quarantine 15. All
Thank you, baby.
Bye, baby.
Bye-bye.
All right, now. Love y'all. All right.
Love you. Bye, everybody, for tuning in.